So they did a good job of stopping them, but it was about 1 yard too long. And this is what Wadsworth can't afford to do, is let Medina just march the ball down the field and control the clock like that.
Well, this Medina team was hit hard by graduation. They lost 18 seniors, and we spoke of Derek Angus. He's a two-way lineman, the only starter back on their offense. Give this time to Alum. Gets it to the 40-yard line of the Grizzlies.
Looked like he picked up about 3 on that play, and they'll bring up 2nd down and 7. Incidentally, as you look across the field from this television area, it looks like there's a lot of Medina Bees over there. There are. Last week, they dressed 80 football players. Of course, Medina High School is just growing by leaps and bounds. I don't know the total enrollment, but they must be about twice as big as Wadsworth. Wadsworth has 1,300 students. I think Medina has well in excess of 2,000.
Alum gets it again around right end this time. And he bangs into Pat McCarthy, who gets him from the cornerback spot and pushes him out of bounds at the 30.
So that was one of those situations where they're running up the middle, and Wadsworth brought the cornerback in tighter and tighter, and they managed to spring the ball outside for a real nice gain. So that gives Medina a 1st and 10 on about the 31-yard line.
Medina did lose some key offensive players, the quarterback Lavery, Chase, the wide receiver, good running back, and Josh Lenneberg, but
I remember those people from last year.
Man in motion for the Bees is Nate Milstead, wide receiver. Ball up the gut, gains a couple yards. 2nd down, 6 yards to go.
You were saying, John, that they lost a lot of people, and they did. The thing you got to remember, when you've got a high school as big as Medina, you've got such a tremendous pool of resources to draw from that it's a lot easier to lose people to graduation here than, say, in a Division 4 or Division 5 school, something like that.
Quick handoff again to Jeff Jowett. Gains a couple more yards. Slowly but surely, the Bees getting closer to the end zone.
That's going to bring up a 3rd and 2. Just outside the 20-yard line, on about the 22-yard line. And this is what you're going to see all night. Medina just pounding the ball up the gut until Wadsworth could stop them.
Coach John Semenick in his 7th year with the Bees. They were 8-2 last year, good for 2nd place in the Pioneer Conference.
That Pioneer Conference is really tough.
And again, goes to Jowett, but this time the Grizzlies were there. About 5 of them piled up on top of him.
Getting up off the bottom of the pile.
Let's see what the Bees are going to do.
Number 19, Craig Dent was the one that really put the stop on him. So this is going to bring up a 4th down. And I thought it was a 4th down. I thought they had stopped him short, but now the referees are calling for a measurement, so it must be closer than I thought. I thought he was stopped well short of the 1st down.
Well, we were talking about all the players, Larry. I mean, they have juniors that have experience from playing last year even. And it's just such a deep roster that, you know, they're 2-3 deep at every position. You have players that have size, speed, good explosiveness. They can come in and take care of their short, just a little nice camera coverage there.
Just a little short. I think they got a pretty good spot on the ball because I didn't think it was that close. But it's going to bring up a 4th down in inches. And what are they going to do? Well,
give it to number 34.
Yeah, I think basically that's what's going to happen. They've already made the decision that they're going to go for it.
Their quarterback is a senior, but last season he threw just 1 pass.
And like I say, I think he's thrown 10 this year.
This season, Spravka, he's 5 completions and 12 attempts.
I was wrong. I thought it was only 10. It looked like he got the 1st and down just 10 just because the pile moved forward that far. So they're unpiling people, and yeah, they're giving the 1st down to Medina. So they're going to get a 1st and 10 just inside the 20-yard line. We'll call it the 20-yard line.
Listen to this comparison in quarterbacks, Larry. Medina's quarterback, 5 for 12. Mike Hoover, 25 for 44. The Grizzlies have completed 56% of their pass attempts.
5 for 12 would be a quarter for Hoover.
Alum, little stutter step, pushes forward for some few extra yards.
Gained about 5 yards on the play. Getting up off the bottom and see Delnos. We watched the replay. There's really nothing fancy going on here at all. It's just Medina using their size to push the Wadsworth defenders off the line of scrimmage, and the running back just follows in behind. And the time is running off the clock. We've already played 6 minutes of the first half, and it's 2nd down and 5 for Medina on the Wadsworth 15.
Allen gets it, and right there to meet him is Pat McCarthy.
Greg Dent was the one that made the play. He busted through, read that, and managed to tackle the ball player, slow him down before the line of scrimmage. Then McCarthy came up and put on the final hit. So you watch here, watch Dent come through right there, get him around the ankle, slow him down just enough for McCarthy to make the tackle. So that pushes it back a yard or two, and it's going to bring up a 3rd down and 6.
A man in motion for the Bees, number 36, pitch to Holland. He's going to cut back in, and this time it's Jake Karowski, the inside linebacker, junior, for the Grizzlies on the tackle.
Well, Medina really loaded up the left side. They had 2 tight ends, a wide receiver over here for blocking. Petrowski manages to get through right there and make the hit. That brings up a 4th down and about 4 on the 13-yard line. Looks like that Medina is going to try to kick a field goal, and it's going to be about a 30-yarder. We'll stop the ball on the 20.
Aaron Pollock in to kick. Sorry, Larry. Kick is up, and it's good. So the Bees, with 4:50 left in the first period, come out on top 3-0. Pollock, their kicker, kicked the game-winning field goal in double overtime against Cloverleaf last week.
Now, speaking of things like that, let's take a look and see what happened last week and who's doing what tonight. Last week, Barbert beat Norton 28-6. Tonight, they're playing Walsh Jesuit, and that is one tough assignment for Barbert. I'm not sure they can pull that one off. Cuyahoga Falls is playing Ella tonight, and you can look for the Falls to win big in that game. The Falls is a good football team. Revere is playing at Brecksville. Brecksville in the Pioneer Conference along with Medina. Revere is favored in that game. Green's playing at Springfield, and that one could be a toss-up. I'm not sure who would be favored in that one. Norton might win their first game tonight. They're playing Northwest. Talmadge, with the big upset last week of Springfield 14-10, playing Field. They shouldn't have any trouble there. Highland Black River, that one's pretty much a toss-up. Cloverleaf is playing at Buckeye. You'd have to favor Cloverleaf in that one. And Copley should be a big favorite over Kenmore.
Copley has not given up a point yet this season.
Copley is tough.
And they've scored a bundle. So they're doing the job on both sides of the ball. Pollock back to kick. He boots it. This time, Ben Osterland gets behind the wall, finds a seam, and up the middle of the field, he gets tackled at about the 35 of Wadsworth.
Real nice run back by Ben Osterland, but the wall did a tremendous job. If you watch here Osterland's broken through. Not for that saving tackle, he might have gone all the way. But anyhow, Wadsworth takes over 1st and 10 on about the 34, 35-yard line. And let's see if they can move the ball this time. They tried a couple running plays that didn't work last time. Pass, that didn't work. Well, actually, 1 run and 2 passes. Nothing worked.
Hoover, 15 of 30 last week, set the school record for the career passing yardage. Flips to Tricome, gets around the right end, breaks away from a couple tacklers. He's brought down shy of the 40.
4 yards on the play. But you got to give the Medina defense credit. As you watch this, they string the play out very well. They're very quick. The corners are in getting over there. And Tricome just can't turn it upfield. Nice tackle. So that brings up a 2nd down, and they're calling it 7 to go on the 38-yard line of
number 1, Brett Kalinowski. Brought Joe Tricome down. Brink over to the other side of the line. Hoover, fake handoff, play action. Throws downfield to Copeland, and it's caught. He's at the 10, the 5. Touchdown, Wadsworth. What a play between Mike Hoover and Adam Copeland.
That was a great touchdown pass, but I was looking upfield. I was afraid that he was over the line of scrimmage when he threw it. You watch Hoover's rolling, but he's also moving forward as he rolls. And as he decides to throw the ball, he's almost over the line of scrimmage. A 62-yard pass play to Aaron Copeland. He caught the ball and walked into the end zone.
Adam Copeland just had enough room to reach out of Dan Corral's defensive try. Galpert's extra point. He's still perfect on the season, and with 3:48 left, Wadsworth 7, Medina 3.
Some stats on that drive for Medina. Olin carried the ball 6 times for 24 yards. Brukla carried 1 for 1. They had 3 first downs before they got the field goal. This game has been penalty-free, but that was a beautiful play. Frankly, Hoover could have run the ball for probably 10 or 15 yards, but he saw that Copeland just had a step or two on the defender, laid the ball in there perfectly, and that's going to be the story of this game. When Medina scores, they're going to score by pushing the ball down the field. Wadsworth can strike from anywhere at any time.
1 minute and 25 seconds. Thank you. 1 minute, 2 seconds off the clock on that series.
Not exactly ball control, but I'll take the results anytime.
That was the 4th touchdown catch of the year for Adam Copeland.
As we said, every time he catches the ball, he's setting another Wadsworth record.
And for Hoover, touchdown pass number 9. Kick from Galper, fielded by Nate Milstead. And the Wadsworth Special Teams does a terrific job of getting to the ball.
You watch this kickoff, it's very high, though it wasn't that deep, and what this does is give the Wadsworth players time to get downfield, and watch the hit here, dodge one there, but then pow, that takes care of that.
That was Nate Stone, the senior, there on the initial tackle on Milstead. 1st and 10 Bs.
On the 25-yard line. Let's see if that quick touchdown pumps up the defense to stop the Highland running. There's flags on the play.
I don't like the scoreboard here, Larry. It doesn't show what yard line the ball is on.
That would be a big help. And sitting where we are in the booth, we're not up particularly high. And with the Wadsworth players standing along the sideline, we can't read the sideline markers. So it's kind of tough to tell where the ball is at. That's a 5-yard motion penalty on Medina, so that brings up a 1st and 15. And the first penalty from Medina, and the trouble with the running scheme is you get a 5-yard penalty like that, it really hurts because they're designed to get 4 yards, 4 yards, 4 yards. Now all of a sudden 4 yards isn't going to do it.
Steve Robertson in place of Matt Core as a back on defense. Bees continue to grind it out on the ground. They gain a couple yards.
Here's the handoff, and when he gets to the line of scrimmage, there's just not much of a hole there at all.
Alum goes 5'10", 185. Looks like he weighs a little more than that, but
I think Karowski was on the bottom of that tackle, but I really couldn't tell for sure. So that brings up 2nd down and 13 yards to go. And I think somewhere along the line, Medina's going to have to throw a pass, if for no other reason, just to open things up. They've got 2 wide receivers down to the left, the bottom of the screen. See what happens here. They just run a counter play.
Tackle made by Jake McElvain.
He picked up about 4 yards on the play, maybe 5, so it's going to bring up a 3rd down and 8 for Medina.
McElvain, a senior safety for the Grizzlies.
As we said, in the secondary, they're missing Matt 4, and in his place is Steve Robertson, number 4. He's coming to the bottom of the screen. You might want to keep an eye and see how he does as a replacement. Fortunately, he's coming in for an easy week because Medina does not pass the ball much. 2 wide
receivers. We meet Revere next week. Jake McElvain gets there as the ball does and just drills Nate Milstead, the senior receiver for the Bees.
Watch this. They had 2 receivers to the left. One went deep, and the other one just kind of dragged out in the flat, but McElvain wasn't fooled at all. He was playing inside, a little bit off the receiver, had plenty of time to get over there, make the catch, so that's a 4th down, and call it 10 for Medina.
Back to punt. Number 20 for the Bees, Joe Tricomi takes it, falls, gets it back in his hands, almost lost the handle of it, on it, was pushed out of bounds. The punter, Mark Simpson, a senior for the Bees.
So Wadsworth will take over on about the 44-yard line. It wasn't a bad punt, but it was a bit of a line drive, and what it did was pin Tricome against the sideline. He wanted to make the catch so the ball wouldn't roll down the field, but he made like a sliding catch into the sideline, got hit, bobbled the ball, but then everybody fell out of bounds. So Wadsworth takes over 1st and 10 on their own 44.
Only 3 returners on the defense for the Bees. Down the field long is Ben Vujis on the left side of the field. Incomplete pass, a little bit out of his reach.
In fact, there were 2 receivers down there. Both Vujis and Copeland had a step or 2 on their defensive back, but the ball was just a little bit overthrown. And if you remember last week, whenever Hoover missed, he was always missing long, and just about a yard overthrown. The yard not as far. Wadsworth would have had another touchdown. 2nd and 10.
A flip to Tricome around the right. Bashes into number 7, Grant Stayer, a senior for the Bees, defensive back. And another interesting thing, Larry, they have a good linebacking core. 2 of the 3 returners on the defense are linebackers. Dave Schindelholz is one, and Schaefer is the other one, both with some good speed at the linebacker.
Well, I think Wadsworth probably won't be able to run up the middle, but by pitching to the outside, they managed to turn a corner, get 7 yards. It's going to keep the Medina defense thinking.
Hoover almost falls down, recovers, throws it out of the backfield to Tony Moeller, who rumbles to the 40 and out of bounds.
Of all the things of Mike Hoover that impresses me, it's how well he spreads the ball around. Here's Moeller lined up at the up back, and you'll watch Moeller just drift to the outside. Hoover Summers almost goes down there. Now Moeller is wide open, just a little flip out there, almost like a long handoff, and there you go for the 1st down. So that makes it 1st and 10 Wadsworth on about the 41-yard line.
Handoff to Tricome up the middle. He breaks away from the defenders and almost gets away from number 32, Dan Corral. Nice gain there for Joe Tricome.
Well, Tricome, of course, is in for Matt Four. And when I talked to the Wadsworth coaches, what was the difference? And they said, Four is going to hit the hole quicker, but Tricome runs a little bit harder. And I think you saw that there. He didn't get to the line of scrimmage quite as fast as Four was, but he did manage to break a couple tackles, bust to the outside, and pick up a nice 9-yard gain.
And Joe Tricome has averaged nearly 5 yards a carry this season. I formation for the Grizzlies. A nice pass play to Tricome around the left. Breaks a couple tackles inside the 20 to about inside the 15, actually.
This keeps up, they're going to have the Medina defense talking to themselves. It's amazing the looks, the wrinkles that they're throwing at the Medina offense. There was a 16-yard pass play, the 2nd pass play in a row to running backs. So even if the Medina defense is covering the wide receivers, Hoover is finding the backs coming out of the backfield, and that ends the 1st quarter tonight.
At the end of 1, it's Wadsworth 7 and threatening the Bees 3.
Got some stats for you. Here's the halftime stats for Wadsworth. First of all, Tricome has run the ball 5 times for 20 yards. Hoover has 3 completions and 6 attempts for an incredible 86 yards and a touchdown. As far as 1st downs are concerned, Wadsworth has had 2, and there are no penalties. Medina, on the other hand, their leading runner is Nate Olam. No surprise there. 8 carries, 64 yards.
34 yards.
I'm sorry, 8 carries for 34 yards. And that's about the sum total of their offense. They had 3 first downs and kicked a field goal. They've been penalized only once for 5 yards. So even though Medina came out, Wadsworth got the opening kickoff, didn't do anything. Well, Medina controlled the 1st drive. After that 1st drive, it's been all Wadsworth, and Wadsworth is now down on the 17-yard line with a 1st and 10.
I think we have our sideline reporter, Jeff Jenkins, ready with something downstairs.
Hey, John, down on the field, listen to the coaches a little bit on here. Medina's coming out double team strength, so Wadsworth's going to try to take away the double team, go a little bit deep. It's working so far. From the field, back up to you guys.
All righty, Jeff, thank you.
No surprise there. We figured that they would be double teaming Brink and Copeland.
And Tricome, little off-tackle play there, it looked like. He got about a 9-10 yard gain on that play. Wadsworth threatening to score again, first down.
I don't know how many times we said it. Your running game makes your passing game go, and in this case, your passing game is making your running game go. The Medina defense is really back on their heels. They don't know what to expect. With Hoover just picking out receivers all over the field, they're trying to loosen up to stop that. Now the running backs are starting to come through, and this Medina team is really being pushed back on their heels right now.
A pitch to Tricome, gets it to about the 5 yard line, gain of 2 maybe.
One thing, if you watch, here comes the pitch to Tricome right there, and he heads up, but there isn't an awful lot there. The Wadsworth line did not get the big surge, so they managed to stop for only a 2 yard gain. It's going to bring up a second down and 5 yards to go on the 5 yard line. Got double wide set to the right for Wadsworth. Brink, the tight end, is over on the left. Hoover's rolling right.
And there he is, Adam Copeland in the end zone for a Wadsworth Grizzly touchdown, second touchdown of the night between Hoover and Copeland.
5 yard completion, and I'll tell you, John, that was so easy. They only got to give Wadsworth 5 points for that instead of 6. Copeland broke to the outside. There was nobody in front of him, and Hoover almost reached out and handed him the ball rather than throwing it. I want to make a comment here. Galpert's going to kick the extra point, hasn't missed yet. You got to give a lot of credit to Hanna on these holds. He's done a great job, like right there, getting the ball down. You know every one of these snaps is not going to be perfect, and I've seen Hanna do some real magic tricks with the ball to get it down for Galpert. So that combination of Hanna and Galpert's working out real well, and now Wadsworth is up 14-3. Another point I want to make, if you've got a running game like Medina does, but no passing game, you fall behind, it's awful hard to catch up because it takes a long time. A long time. One penalty, one turnover, and you're done. Wadsworth, on the other hand, they can hit so quick from any part of the field, you know they're going to keep coming at you, and coming at you. So actually, this is a very critical series of downs for Medina. If they don't move the ball this time, they could be in real trouble. Here's some stats we got now for Wadsworth, okay? Hoover's completed 4 passes out of 7 for 91 yards and 2 TDs. Copeland has 2 catches, 2 touchdowns, 67 yards and 5 yards. That's fairly awesome.
That's 5 touchdown catches now for Copeland on the season. 10 touchdown passes for Mike Hoover.
10:42 left in the first quarter. I mean, in the second quarter, and Galford will kick the ball off.
Galford booms it. And Nate Milstead runs with it. And he's met hard by Steve Robertson.
Steve Robertson's acquitting himself very well tonight. If you watch this, it was a line drive kick, so the coverage wasn't down there. But watch Robertson come in right there. Boom. Makes a hit. So Medina takes over with the 1st and 10 on the 29-yard line. And looking at the Wadsworth defense, they look pretty pumped right now.
Well, the Grizzly defense has been nothing but steady so far this season. Wadsworth has doubled Medina in points scored in the first 2 games. Alum, the give, 1 tackle misses him, 2 tacklers miss him. He's finally drug out of bounds.
Now they're ruling him inbound, but that was a nice pickup. A little misdirection play in the backfield there, and he came loose over on the sideline. A couple, I don't know if you would call them busted tackles, but missed tackles, what have you. A couple Wadsworth players had him back by the line of scrimmage, couldn't make the tackle. Picked up 8 yards, no, they call it 7 yards on the play, so it's going to bring up a second down and 3.
Spravka, quick handoff. And a basic running play there for Medina.
They're going to pick up the first down, and that was the case where the larger Medina defensive line just moved the whole line of Wadsworth back. So it was just kind of follow the pile and see what you could get. And he picked up about 4 yards, and it's going to bring up a 1st and 10 for Medina on the 40-yard line.
Including the scoring tonight, Larry, Wadsworth has scored 90 points this season. Medina 41.
They're both 2-0.
However, Medina has only given up 28 points, and that includes the 14 Wadsworth has scored. Wadsworth has given up 54. Matt Delnos, laying down, finally wraps up the quarterback Spravka to bring him down at the 40.
That was a design quarterback draw. The quarterback faked one way, faked the other way, then tucked the ball, turned to run, but there was really nothing there. So there's no gain on the play. Delnos had that one diagnosed pretty well and made the stop on the play. So brings up a 2nd down and 10. And once again, you have to ask yourself, when is Medina going to start throwing the ball? They just can't run on every play. The one pass that they did complete, of course, was completed for no gain.
Milstead was in motion. Sprouts has to roll right. Now he finds a little bit of running room. And he's hit hard by Jake Wilhite.
Jake Wilhite,
the outside linebacker.
I don't know if this is a pass play or not. The quarterback's rolling out. I'm not sure he ever was going to pass the ball.
He was looking to.
Well, maybe, maybe not. But it might have been just a quarterback rollout. And there you see the hit. And the quarterback did manage to scramble forward for about 5 yards. So that's going to bring up 3rd and 5 for Medina. The referees are calling a timeout now. And Medina's taking a timeout with 8:14 to play in the 2nd quarter. Wadsworth up 14-3. One thing we might want to mention is the playoff situation. This game has big playoff implications for Wadsworth. When you consider Medina is a Division I school, they've won 2 games. They're going to do okay in the Pioneer Conference, even though they don't win it. If Wadsworth manages to win this thing, they'll go in. If you look there, they beat Barberton, Division II school, beat Cuyahoga Falls, a Division I school. They win tonight, Medina, Division I school. That's all you can ask for going into conference play. And down the road, they're going to get a lot of computer points from these first 3 games, particularly if they could win tonight. Next night, people, one of the 2 games of the year for Wadsworth, they're going to be playing Revere at home. That's going to be the kickoff of the Suburban League season. And if you look at that there, you look at the next Friday, Revere, down the bottom, October 29th versus Copley. Those are the 2 games of the year as far as we're concerned.
3rd and 5 for the Bees at their own 45. A reverse. And Milstead is drilled behind the line of scrimmage by Steve Robertson.
Another fine play by Robertson. And what you got to give him credit for is he stayed home. Stayed there, didn't drop back. Watch this. Here comes reverse. And Robertson is just going to be standing at the top of your screen watching things develop. Now the play comes around here, and here comes Robertson right up there. Beautiful open field tackle. Medina has to punt.
The punter, Mark Simpson, is back.
Good punt.
Nice
good high punt.
And was that Ben Vujis that fielded that kick?
That was a 38-yard punt, and there was, for all practical purposes, no return. The reason why was the ball was punted so high, it gave the defenders time to get down under the ball. So Wadsworth is going to take over 1st and 10 on their 20-yard line with 7 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in the 2nd quarter.
Hoover hands it off, and nothing for the Grizzlies on that play.
Not only was there nothing, there was a loss on the play. The tackle was made by Derek Angus. We talked about he's playing tackle. He's not that tall, 6'1", 230, but a legitimate Division I prospect. And you'd have to figure in Division I ball he'd be playing linebacker rather than lineman at 6'1", 230. So they say Wadsworth actually lost 2 yards on the play. That's going to bring up a 2nd down and 12 for Wadsworth. See if they throw the ball here. 2 wide receivers split to the bottom of the screen.
And Hoover's rolling that way, looking for Copeland. And and in and out of the hands of Adam. A catchable ball for sure. He ran a great route.
And he just hit himself in the helmet with his hand saying, I should have had that one. Watch the rollout here. Hoover's so good at rolling out away from the pressure and lays the ball right in there. Hit Copeland in a bad spot. One of the things I think that Medina was going to try to do is keep pressure on Hoover. They were going to bring linebackers. They were going to try to stunt, and so far they have not succeeded in that at all. Hoover has had all the time he's needed to throw all night long, particularly on the rollouts. When he rolled out there, many of these rollout plays, he could run the ball for several yards.
Grizzlies
And Wadsworth
call
calling
timeout.
I think they only had 10 men on the field, if I'm not mistaken. There was something wrong. They weren't all on the same page. But getting back to the Pioneer Conference, I'm thinking Medina, getting back to the Suburban League, next week Wadsworth plays Revere at home. Whoever wins that game, along with Copley, has to be considered the co-favorites to take the Suburban League championship. So it's going to be one of the two biggest games of the year for Wadsworth. And looking at how the Suburban League is playing, the teams are playing, it's possible that there could be 4 teams from the Suburban League make the playoffs, believe it or not. Ones that I'm thinking about would be perhaps Revere and Wadsworth both in Division II, and Copley and perhaps Talmadge in Division III would also have a shot. Talmadge, with that big upset over Springfield, put themselves in the thick of the Suburban League race. So I urge you people, next Friday night, come on out to Arkwright Stadium and take a look at your Grizzlies. So here we go. It's going to be a 3rd down and 12 with 6:46 to play. The ball's on the 18-yard line of Wadsworth.
Do you ever take a breath, Larry?
Every other week, big lunch.
Okay. Hoover, nobody in the backfield, looking to throw. Long downfield, Tricome.
Tricome and the defensive back got tangled up, but the ref didn't call anything, and I think that was a good call because it looked like Tricome was going to start to come back for the ball as the receivers or the backs are taught to do. Your quarterback scrambling head on back, and Hoover read that he was going to continue to run deep. So Wadsworth is going to punt, and once again will give you not only the hang time, but also how high the ball went.
Moeller, high spiraling punt. In and out of the hands of the Medina player, and recovered by the Grizzlies. Jake McElvain. Boy, that Medina player just did not keep his eyes on the ball. It just slipped right out of his fingertips, and it was up in the air for anybody's grab, and Jake McElvain came up with it.
It's a poor judgment. The ball was kicked very high. It went 49 feet in the air, but not far downfield. And what the Medina receiver should have done is just simply backed away from the ball. It hit his hand, took a crazy bounce, and there were 5 Wadsworth defenders right there. Nice. McElvain just happened to be the one that fell on the ball.
Nice camera coverage there, guys. Hoover gives it to Vujis, who's going to throw downfield. And over the head of Copeland. Interesting play there, Larry. Of course, Vujis, I thought he was going to run with it. He just all of a sudden stopped, but the man was not open. And
the thing was, Vujis is the backup quarterback on the team. I think he's actually their number 2 quarterback.
Hannah's the backup.
He played quarterback as freshman. I know he can throw the ball. So I was not too surprised that happened. I thought somewhere along the line, somewhere this season, we would see something like that. 2nd and 10 for Wadsworth.
Remember, Hannah played a lot of the 4th quarter in the Barberton game. Tricome brought down hard behind the line. And Kevin Schaefer, one of the linebackers I mentioned earlier, was there to wrap him up.
That's a loss of 4, so it's going to bring up a 3rd and 14. Unlike last week where the game seemed to last forever, this game is going very quickly with all the running plays. We're already down to 5 minutes and 35 seconds in the 2nd quarter. I think Wadsworth, even if they don't score, would like to pick up a couple of 1st and 10s here just to keep the ball out of Medina's hands. Hoover back to pass.
He's hit after he throws, and the pass is out of bounds, incomplete. Grizzlies will have to punt.
The ball was thrown for Copeland. That was the first time all night that the Bees had any kind of pressure on Hoover at all, and the ball was thrown long. So we'll try her again and tell you not only how high the ball goes, the hang time, both. That's an exclusive only here on Wadsworth Cable Television.
Tony Moeller ready. Puts it up.
Nice kick.
And Milstead comes up with it, but he's wrapped up by 2 or 3 Grizzlies deep in Medina territory.
It was a 36-yard punt. The hang time was 3.2 seconds, and the ball went 43 feet in the air.
See, there it's going 43 feet up.
I think, in reality, a fair catch should have been called for there because, well, the two receivers collided. They were lucky not to drop the ball there.
Again.
And there were 4 Wadsworth defenders right in front of them. So Medina now takes over 1st and 10, the ball on the 23-yard line. They've got 5:13 to play, and for a team that just runs the ball, that's all. Not much time to score.
Alum doesn't get anywhere after a little spin move, couple of yards.
That'll bring up the 2nd down and 8. To continue again with the, oh, here's the play, and you can see all I'm getting nothing. Continue on with the playoff situation. Remember this year, there are 8 teams from each region make the playoffs. If Wadsworth wins their first 3 games, they will be in excellent position. Number 1, because of how good the team is, and number 2, the fact they're beating Division I opponents to get a lot of points and go a long way towards making the playoffs. But that's a long way down the road. We'll probably should concentrate on Medina tonight.
Skravka dropping back. He's pressured. Little pass out to Alum. That's his first completion tonight.
It was a screen pass, and it kind of worked, I guess is the best way that you could say it. The Wadsworth defenders weren't really fooled. Here goes the quarterback back. Now, the screen is going to come to the bottom of your screen right there. There's the receiver, but he doesn't really have the blocking in front of him. And Wadsworth, with this much time, is playing a little bit off the ball. So they picked up a total of 7 yards. So that makes it 3rd down and 2 to go. They call it an 8-yard pickup, 3rd and 2, with 3:53 to go. Power I formation for the first time. They got all the backs in there.
Alum gets it, doesn't get any good blocks, just runs into the line.
But, you know, the thing is, he didn't get a good block in that sense. But, that, again, the Medina line is so large, they did manage to push the Wadsworth defenders back, and he actually picked up a yard or 2 there. There's no all. Boom, there's nothing there. But notice how the pile is surging forward just from the weight of the Medina offensive line. Medina is going into punt formation, and the coaches next to us here in the booth yelling, watch the long count, watch the long count, watch the fake. In other words, don't assume that this is what's going to happen.
A low spiraling punt in and out of the hands of Ben Vujis. He has one man pursuing him. He gets away from him, cuts back into the middle of the field, and dives forward to about the 37 of the Grizzlies.
It was a 36-yard punt and a 10-yard return by Vujis. It was a line drive kick, and Vujis kind of let the ball sail past him. He just managed to touch it, then pick it up. But it so happens so often when you fumble a kickoff or a punt, it kind of messes up all the blocking schemes, and he did manage to scramble back for 10 yards. So Wadsworth takes over 1st and 10 on the 36. They've got 2:56 to go, and unlike Medina, that is tons of time to score, and I know they'd like to push another one in before the halftime.
Hoover looking over the middle, finds Joe Tricome, who beat his man downfield, and he's tackled out of bounds at the Barberton 30. He just sped past the defender, and he was actually between 2 defenders, but wide enough open to catch the ball.
That was a 32-yard pass. Again, no pressure at all on Hoover. Lays the ball in there perfectly. Tricome is behind the defenders, and one of the safeties has to come over and just manages to push him out of bounds. What's happening is they're playing Copeland and Brink very, very tight, which is leaving the running backs open.
Shotgun formation. Hoover fakes the handoff, rolls left, and pass intended for Osterland was a little bit short.
Hoover's got more than 100 yards passing now. And that time there was pressure on Hoover also. He was being pursued, and he could hear the footsteps coming up behind him. And Osterland wasn't really open, so what he did is just lay the ball in very low, and basically if Osterland could dive it, make the catch, that's fine. If not, I'm not throwing it up for an interception. That brings up a second down and 10, and the ball is on the 33-yard line, I would guess. 2:42 to play in the half.
Brink switches sides on the line. I formation with Moeller and Tricome in there. And Moeller, his first carry tonight for a few yards.
Tony Moeller, playing the up back, has a reception, I believe. But that was the first time that he's run the ball. And he actually lost 2 yards on it. And I think Wadsworth is calling timeout. And they're going to talk this one over. Now they've got a 3rd and 11, and the ball is on the 34-yard line. And some of the things they might be talking about, 3rd and 11. Are we going to go for it 2 times? Or are we going to go for it, try to pick the field goal? Are we going to try to get it all on both shots, or do you want to try to get half of it at a time? These are the things that they're trying to figure out. Once again, if Wadsworth could push a touchdown in here, I think it would be very difficult for Medina to come back with their primarily run-oriented offense. That'll be the second time out for Wadsworth, I believe.
Coach Dennison trotting off the field after talking to his young players. Coach Dennison's father, of course, the coach at Walsh University. Hoover, short drop back. Gets away from one man, being Angus. The pass out of the reach of Osterland. Chris Brink was wide open on the near side of the field. Hoover couldn't get the ball to him.
I was watching downfield, and to be honest with you, Medina had pretty good coverage. When Hoover looked the first time, all his receivers were recovered, and then people started scrambling around trying to get open, and nobody managed to do it. So here's going to be an interesting call. 4th down, 11 yards to go. Wadsworth is obviously not going to punt. They're out of the range of Galpert for the field goal with 2:27 to go. See what they do. They're in the shotgun.
Hoover keeps it himself, runs with it up the middle. He's going to have to keep it. He does. Finally pushed out of bounds. He
very close to the
first down.
See where they spot the ball. It's on the far side of the field. It's kind of hard to tell. Referees are spotting the ball.
I would say it looks like
and they're calling timeout for a measurement. That was a quarterback draw all the way. Hoover had no intention of throwing the ball. And I think it was just one of these things. All right, we're going to call a safe play, try to get what we can, run some time off the clock. But after Hoover got by the line of scrimmage, he saw if he broke to the outside, he had plenty of running room. So he just kind of motored on down the field. Now the question is, did he get the first down, or does Medina take over on down?
We have got a huge crowd here tonight,
We are
Larry.
short by about 6 inches. So Medina takes over.
Yes.
Here's some stats so far. Wadsworth, 9 rushes for 27 yards for Tricome. Hoover, 5 for 13, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns. Copeland has 2 catches for 67 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tricome, 2 catches for 48 yards. Wadsworth has 4 first and 10 and no penalties. For Medina, the whole offense has been all in 11 attempts, 44 yards. Jowett has carried the ball 6 times for 19. In passing, they're 2 for 2, but only gained 5 yards, 4 first downs, and only 1 penalty, 1 fumble.
Alum gets the handoff, runs around the left. He's pushed out of bounds. 2:13 left first half. Grizzlies leading by 11.
So that'll bring up a second down and 6. And Wadsworth will let Medina do that all night long. With 2:13 to go, they are not going to be able to score the ball just running it. They're going to have to do something a little trickier than that. So far, they haven't shown the ability to do that. We have 2 wide receivers to the right and a slot back, an H-back. The handoff to the H-back.
That's Alum again. And keep running plays like that, it's going to be halftime, and you won't have a touchdown.
Well, they lined up a little bit different. They had the two wide receivers, and all of them was lined up as an H-back. He just cut across at the snap, and they handled it almost like a H-back draw play, but he did manage to get out of bounds and stop the ball. So that's going to bring up 3rd down and 1 with 2 minutes and 9 seconds left to play.
Well, the Bees a contender every year, Larry, but an interesting note on that. I mean, they rebuild every year, always have a good team, but they have not won a league title since 1973 when they won the Southwestern Conference.
What a hit.
A great defensive play by Chris Brink, and there to help him.
Jake Karowski.
Yes.
Karowski actually is the one that makes the hit right there, and Brink just comes in to help. And that was a big stop. That ends the Medina threat. They're going to have to punt the ball because it's going to bring up a 4th and 5 on their own, no, it looks like 30, 31-yard line. And now timeout is called, I think, by Medina, but I'm not sure. Somebody called timeout.
But in 1973, Medina was in the Southwestern Conference. That's an old defunct conference now. And at that time, Wadsworth was in the Pioneer Conference, which Medina is now in. And in the late 70s there, the Grizzlies had a run of a few years in a row of winning the conference.
I'll tell you, that Pioneer Conference is really tough. When you look at the teams they've got Maria,
Strongsville,
Brecksville, Mid-Park. Just an awfully tough conference. I'll be honest, I'm glad Wadsworth got out of that. I think they were in over their head. In addition, they were oriented towards Cleveland, and Wadsworth wanted to orient themselves more towards Akron.
The punt is up by Mark Simpson, and it is a long one. Joe Tricomi gets a block from Vujis to get some more running room. He brings a couple of tacklers with him to midfield, where the Grizzlies will start with 1:45. And you know that's plenty of time for this offense. Earlier, they scored a touchdown in just a little over a minute.
Well, that was a real nice return by Tricomi, 17 yards. He catches the ball, looks like he's heading real wide right, but as he reads the block, he cuts up inside the block. Number 11, who made the block there, Jeff Hanna, saying, hey, I didn't clip, I didn't clip, I didn't clip. And now he just continues on up, hits the ball to 48-yard line, minute 45 to go.
Mike Hoover throws over the middle, incomplete, intended for Copeland.
Right now, Medina is covering the Wadsworth receiver as well. Copeland was not open. He was well covered on that. The ball was fired in, but it was thrown so that if Copeland didn't make a spectacular catch, there wasn't going to be any interception. So Hoover is doing a very wise job of the way he's throwing the ball. He's making sure if his people don't get it, nobody's going to get it. Now we have two wide receivers split to the right.
I formation. Hoover, Brink open downfield, gets it to him, caught by Brink, breaks away from the tackler, touchdown Grizzlies, man.
51-yard touchdown pass from Hoover to Chris Brink, and it's amazing how fast they can strike. Watch this, not much pressure at all. Brink is downfield working to get free, throws the ball. Brink just managed to get behind the defender, catches it right there, and then his strength breaks the tackle. Now it's walk into the end zone.
I mentioned the big play potential and how quick the Grizzlies can score. They just did it in under a minute.
That's two touchdown plays, touchdown drives in a minute, and Galpert hasn't missed an extra point all year. And I put the hex on him.
Boy, he made it. It was a low line drive kick.
Oh, wow.
Hoover has 174 yards passing tonight, Larry. That's a pretty good night in two halves, let alone one.
And they've all been on big plays, real long touchdown passes. And, well, we've got a minute and 29 to go in the first half. And if Medina doesn't score in this minute, watch this kick. It's just a line drive. How it gets over the crossbar is beyond me, but it did. Here's some stats. Most impressively, the passing game. Hoover has only completed the ball 6 times out of 15, about 174 yards. That's an average of almost 30 yards per completion, and he has 3 touchdowns. Copeland, 2 catches for 67 yards and 2 TDs. Tricomi, 2 catches for 48. Brink has only caught 1 pass, but it's been for 51 yards and a touchdown. those are very impressive passing statistics, and looking good right now.
On the season, Larry, Sam Galpert, the soccer/football kicker, 13 for 13 on points after touchdown.
I'm going to say it again. You got to give a lot of credit to Jeff Hahn on that. That was not a good snap, and he managed to get it down. Then give Galpert credit for knuckleballing the thing through. Squib kick down the middle of the field.
And it was fumbled around by number 29, Luke Boyer. Luke Boyer, a junior for the Bees, and he's brought down, the 34 of the Bees with 1:22 to go. I think Medina has to put it up in the air.
I don't know if you put it up in the air here, you just kind of kneel down 3 times, go into halftime and regroup. Of all the things about Ben Hoover, though, the thing that impresses me the most is how he spreads the ball around. He finds so many receivers. He seems to know at every second whatever receiver's doing.
Mike Hoover.
Sorry about that. Who did I call him?
Ben Hoover.
I keep calling him Ben Hoover. Who's Ben Hoover?
There's a lot of Bens out there.
Yeah, but not Ben Hoover.
See, Sproska throws. Oh, what a play! Batted at the line of scrimmage by Matt Delnos. He just reached up, got a hand on the pass, turned around, and caught his own batted pass.
Watch this play. Boom. Delnos bats it up in the air, dives on the ball. That's got to be a highlight film play right there. So Wadsworth takes over on the 35-yard line. First and 10, they've got 1:17 to go. And the way they've been playing, they could score 10 points in 1:17.
What a great job by the senior, Matt Delnos, staying with the ball after he tips it up in the air. Now the offense back out on the field. Hoover dropping back.
That's going to be a holding on Wadsworth.
Osterlin dives for the pass. It's incomplete. Yes, it will be holding, Larry.
That's the first penalty on Wadsworth all night. I don't know who the holding penalty. That's who the holding penalty is going to be on. It's been remarkably penalty-free game. I think Medina just has that 1 5-yarder, and Wadsworth holding penalty. Are they going to take the penalty or not? They probably will. So the pass was incomplete. Holding in high school is a 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. So they're moving it back to the 46-yard line, and that's going to bring up a first down in 20. Minute and 11 seconds left to go.
Tony Moeller into the ball game. Nate Stone coming out. Can the Grizzlies rub it in a little more here? Minute 11 left. Plenty of time. Gonna throw it again. Moeller open out of the backfield, but Hoover decides to go further downfield. In and out of the hands of Fugis and into the hands of Brink. What's going on here?
I don't know what phase Saboon is in. I hope they show this.
Pass was intended for Vujis, number 9.
Now, Hoover's rolling out. Stone is wide open right here. I mean, Tony Moeller is wide open right here, but Hoover's going downfield. Back to live action.
Pass thrown out of bounds, intended for Adam Copeland.
But anyhow, the ball hits. Here we go. The ball comes down. Now watch this. Bounces out of Vujis' hands right to Chris Brink, who takes the ball and tries to rumble forward and actually picked up a couple yards. So that's going to be a second down and 10 for Wadsworth. The ball is on the, about the 21-yard line.
You want to speak about heads up. Chris Brink there, I guess seeing that he wasn't going to get the pass, but he kept his eyes on where the ball went, and it ended up right in his letters. Pass is long into the end zone, intended for Osterlin. 44 seconds left first half.
It almost looked like Hoover was throwing for a spot, and what happened when Osterlin got in the backfield, he kind of got tangled up with the defensive back, and he couldn't make the cut to the outside quick enough. But if you watched Hoover, he just got the ball, turned around, fake one way, stood up, and just kind of tossed for a spot, and the receiver wasn't there. It's going to be interesting if they don't make it here, if they try the field goal. Galpert has not kicked a field goal all year long, primarily because he hasn't had to.
Hoover finds Brink, smashes into the defender, gets into the end zone, touchdown, Chris Brink.
What can I say? That drive was the Chris Brink show. Watch, Brink comes across the middle. He isn't open, he's well covered, but when he catches the ball and gets hit, he just shrugs off the defender and rumbles the last 3 yards into the end zone.
There's the size of Chris Brink.
Yeah.
And Galford attempting extra point number 14 on the season. Hannah puts it down, kicks up and good. 36 seconds left, first half. 28-3, all Grizzlies.
What's so impressive about Chris Brink is he has the size to play tight end on offense, but he's also got the speed to go deep against the defensive back. And when he gets loose in the defensive back, they cannot handle him. He's probably 5-6 inches taller and 40 or 50 pounds heavier. The stats continue to be just amazing. Hoover, 8 for 19, 219 yards and 4 touchdowns. Not only is that a game for some quarterbacks, for some it's a career. Copeland, 2 catches, 67 yards for Tony, 2 for 48. Brink, 3 catches for 96 yards and 2 TDs. Very, very impressive first half. And I want to thank all the Grizzlies behind me giving me the stats. Who's back there? Who do we got giving us stats tonight?
We've got Mr. Kali here.
Kali and
John Gramuglia,
Mr.
and Wadsworth High School principal Dale Fortner.
Mr. Fortner. That's good help. You can't go wrong when you get help like that.
Mr. Mark Postak.
Postak is back there too. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. It adds a lot to the game. Galford, another squib kick.
The up man lets it go by him. And number 86, Nate Milstead, takes it across to 30.
I think you're wrong, John. I don't think the up man let it go by him. I think it went by the up man, and there's a little difference.
I didn't mean he intentionally let it go by him. He just let it go by
him. Yeah. 31 seconds to go in the first half. If you're tuning in late, Medina got on the scoreboard first. Wadsworth got the kickoff, couldn't move the ball at all. Medina marched the ball down the field and kicked the field goal, but since then, it has just been all Wadsworth doing fundamentally whatever they want to do.
And playing real heads up on both sides of the ball.
Real heads up.
Hand off to Alum.
And that'll probably be the last play of the half.
Jeff Dietrich wrapped him up with his arm there, and a couple other Grizzlies helped.
So it looks like we're going to be going into halftime.
Well, 20 seconds left. They may get one more play off. They may not. They're slowly walking back to the huddle.
They evidently want to run another play. Maybe they're going to throw a Hail Mary.
Grizzlies bringing back a few players. McCarthy, Robertson, and Hannah back. Pass intended for number 7, Grant Stayer, and that's the end of the first half. With your score, the Wadsworth Grizzlies 28, the Medina Bees 3. Jeff Jenkins has a end of the first half report for us on the sideline.
Hi, John. Jeff down in the field. I was trying to get you earlier when it was 14-3. I was trying to talk to Mike Hoover, Adam Copeland. They were talking about Chris Brink getting double teamed. I tried to talk to Chris. He was a little salted because he wasn't getting any action. Well, now he came out, made a couple really good plays. In this last one, I don't know if you saw it, he hit this guy at the goal line. And number 7 thought a truck hit him, but now he's back. He's in a little better mood, so we'll try to talk to him in the second half. That's it from the field. Back up to you guys.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. Great job there. And we'll wrap up the stats here in the booth for you and see if Wadsworth can do some more damage in the second half in what has been a blowout so far. See you in a minute. Back here at Kenneth Duke Stadium, the 48th meeting between the Grizzlies and the Medina Bees. And it's been all Grizzlies. 28-3 is your score. John Bernard back again with you, and Larry Varner has the halftime statistics.
Well, I could give you the halftime statistics. It really comes down to, what does a 1,000-pound gorilla do? The answer is anything it wants to do. And in the first half, Wadsworth was the 1,000-pound gorilla, particularly passing. Here's the numbers we got for you. Ben Hoover, 8 of 17 for 219 yards and 4 TDs. Tacomie rushed 9 times, 27 yards. So you get these numbers. Copeland, 2 catches, 67 yards, 2 TDs. Tacomie, 2 catches, 48 yards. Brink, 3 catches, 96 yards, and 2 TDs. Wadsworth picked up 5 first 10, or were penalized once for 10 yards. As far as Medina is concerned, what offense they had was provided primarily by Nate Olin, 14 carries, 53 yards. Jowett had 8 carries for 17, and Spravaca had 3 rushes for 7 yards. They attempted 4 passes, completed 2, but only for 5 yards with 1 interception. Medina had 4 first downs and were penalized 1 time for 5 yards and turned over a 1 fumble. And I think right now the burden has to really be on Medina. In order to win this game, they had to control the football. They haven't been able to do that at all. And coming out in the second half, if they don't come up with some different wrinkle, the ball game's over right now. I keep calling him Mike Hoover. Okay?
No, Ben.
Ben. I keep calling. I don't know who Ben Hoover
apologize.
is. I apologize, Ben. Honest, I do. I really do. I know your name. But where Mike Hoover comes from is beyond me.
Sam Galpert's going to kick it off for the Grizzlies.
Who, John Galpert, is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Back deep, 2 players for the Bees. And fielding it is number 22, Josh Wilson. And he's brought down at the 25. Wilson is only a sophomore out on the field for the Bees.
I think that was about a 50-yard kick with maybe a 15-yard return. And Medina takes over 1st and 10 on their own 26. And we're going to have to watch now and see, is Medina going to do anything different? I'm not sure, believe it or not, they have time to run the offense they've been running and score enough to win this game. So are they going to open up more with more passes, more wrinkles? I don't know. Let's look and see.
Play action fake, and pass is completed to Jeff Jowett.
Ran out of bounds. I think he gained maybe 4 or 5 yards on the play. See where they spot the ball. Oh, they're going to give him a pickup of 2 yards, so that's going to bring up a 2nd down and 8. So they came out the first play passing, which is only the 5th pass of the game for Medina, but it only went for 2 yards.
Alum gets it this time, rumbles across the 30 to about the 32. Larry, something I noticed at the end of the first half there, a nice gesture by the Wadsworth players. They have a little number 2 decal on the back of their helmets in honor of Matt Four, who is, of course, out for the season with the broken leg. So I thought that was rather nice of the players.
Saw that last week. He had 3 surgeries this week, and he'll be out of school for another 2 to 3 weeks. But they say he's going to be ready for track season come spring, so that's some good news. And good luck, Matt.
The pitch to Alum, finds a hole, and he's brought down in the middle of the field by Doug Perigo, the nose tackle for the Grizzlies. Maybe we can get a shot of one of those Grizzly helmets with the number 2 on the back.
I think that was the biggest gain that Medina's had all night. They picked up like 10 yards on the play. I don't know if we can zoom in close enough to get that or not. They're on the left side of the helmet. Yeah, right there on the left side of the helmet. On the right side of the helmet, you see the little grizzly bear paws for outstanding plays, and then the number 2 for Matt Four.
Alum again has to jump over one of his own players, takes it down to about the 39. 2nd and 8 or 9 for the Bees.
Okay, so Medina's doing this, but as I mentioned, the problem they run into, if they're going to win this game, they have to score at least 4 times, and they haven't got time to do it, playing the kind of ball that they're playing. The Wadsworth defense has really stepped up pretty big against the run tonight. Sprofka
rolling to his right and finds an open receiver. number 7, Grant Stayer, with the completion. That's probably the nicest pass we've seen tonight from the Bees quarterback, Chris Spravka. You spell his last name S-P-R-A-V-K-A. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
The receiver came open pretty well, and the Wadsworth defender, I don't know if it was McCarthy, I didn't get his number, went for the interception, tried to get in front of the ball and missed, and that gave an extra about 10 yards to play. So now Medina is starting to move the ball, and this is how they have to do it. They're not going to do it on the ground.
Olam's open downfield, and the Grizzly fans want offensive interference. They're not going to get it, of course.
They're not going to get it, but it was pretty close. The ball was thrown way over everybody's head, but McCarthy was back there defending. And when Olam's went down, he gave McCarthy a little shove, but I think the ball was thrown beyond him and out of bounds. And the referees chose not to call offensive interference. So that brings up the 2nd down and 10. And this is the kind of ball Medina has to play, whether they want to or not, to get back into this game, if in fact they're going to.
Olam, the lone man in the backfield. Spravka dropping back, throwing over the middle. Intercepted. Jeff Hanna, number 11, the free safety for the Grizzlies, with the interception. I believe that's his 2nd on the season.
If you watch this, the Wadsworth defenders back are playing behind the receiver. The ball is just slightly overthrown. There goes up for the, not there. And you notice there were 4 Wadsworth defenders behind the receiver. Hanna was in the right spot, made a real nice interception. And it's too bad he stumbled a little bit, or he could still be running. But Wadsworth takes over with the ball, 1st and 10 on the 19-yard line. So the first threat for Medina tonight in the second half is nullified on that interception.
The give is to Joe Tricomi. He's wrapped up.
They're giving him a pickup of about 2 yards, so it's going to bring up a 2nd and 8. There's the handoff to Tricomi. Just a little opening there, and then the backers come up and close very well. It's going to be interesting, John, to see what Wadsworth does in the passing department with this lead, whether they start throwing the ball more or whether they're content really not necessarily to score, but more run time off the clock and take the yardage in small chunks if you can get it.
Joe Tricomi finds a big hole, and he's got lots of running room. A couple men to beat. He's being run down and finally tackled at about the 18 of the Bees. And it may be even closer than that. He just found a seam there and broke free right in the middle of all the defenders.
Here's the pitch to Tricomi. There's good blocking at the line of scrimmage right there. And now he's pretty much in the open. You can't see, but downfield, the wide receivers are not blocking, but they're screening off the defenders. And basically, Tricomi ran out of gas and got caught from behind just before he could score. 62-yard pickup, I believe, by Joe Tricomi. And Wadsworth is in business.
Jim Kendall finally ran Tricomi down there.
I think they're going to mark that for a loss of about a yard, so it's going to bring up 2nd down and 11 for Wadsworth, and the ball is on the 21-yard line. You know, one thing, John, it's very difficult for us to do is to give credit to those Wadsworth linemen. We just can't see who's making the blocks up front. But you know, when the running backs are coming that wide open at the line of scrimmage, there's some very fine blocking up front.
And the Grizzlies get nowhere on that play.
That was a loss of 4, so it's going to bring up a 3rd down, and or I guess they're calling it 14 yards for the Wadsworth Grizzlies, and they're on about the 23-yard line, I believe. Well, here's the handoff, but one of the backers got through, and that took care of that. Chris Brinkman, where'd he come from? So that brings up a 3rd and 14. I imagine Wadsworth, here they've been running the ball, is going to throw on this down.
Quick pass to Nate Stone out of the backfield. It was a little short of his reach, and it's an incomplete pass.
Ball was thrown just a little bit low. Now, there's pressure on Hoover again. This is only like the 2nd or 3rd time tonight there's been pressure on Hoover. And the ball was low, but it was catchable. And Stone's kind of kicking himself and missing that.
Galpert's out to kick his first field goal of the season.
30. It's going to be a 40-yarder. This is about the limit, I think, at Galpert's range. So we're going to see what happens.
Bad snap. And Hanna is going to have to throw it, but he's tackled at the 30-yard line, and Medina takes over there.
We watched that. The ball was dribbled back, and Hanna, I think, decided there was just absolutely nothing there. So he picked the ball. He was looking to throw to somebody, but nobody on the Wadsworth team came off the line of scrimmage at all, so they just turned it over to Medina. But in the meantime, 5 minutes have run off the clock here in the third quarter, and Medina takes over 1st and 10 on the 28-yard line.
Alum up the middle.
Picked up about 5 yards on that draw play.
I think the problem with the field goal there, Larry, they only had 10 players on the field, and the fake was not intended.
I'm not sure if that was a fake or not. I couldn't read that because when Hanna came out with the ball, he was looking for somebody to throw to, and perhaps the person that was not there was like the end on the far side of the field. Yeah, I mean, that's where he was looking, but there wasn't anybody there. So I'm not sure if that was a field goal or a fake. I'll have to ask Coach Greg Dennison about that when we get back to school Monday. Oh, my.
Alum gets buried by a number of Grizzlies.
Jake Warowski was there, and he is playing one outstanding game. But there were, as you say, a host of Grizzlies in on the play. Watch this, moving back. It's going to be the deep handoff, tries to cut. And who is that there first? Number
Jeff
71.
Dietrich is 71.
Jeff Dietrich is there, and there comes Delno. So that brings up a 3rd down and 10. And watch for Medina to throw some kind of wrinkle play in here because they're not going anywhere with what they got.
Man in motion for the Bees. Spravka rolling to his right. Keeps it himself. Brought down by Josh Miracle, playing defensive tackle, primarily the center for the Grizzlies.
Jeff Dietrich was there again also, and that one just had nowhere to go. So Medina's going to have to punt. Josh Miracle did a good job on that series of downs. In fact, the defensive line has done well all night and just pretty much shutting down the Medina running game. All of them's getting some yards, that's true, but they're not moving the ball like they should. Now, there's a timeout on the field.
Medina.
I think they only had 10 men on the field, and so they're going to call a timeout. I was walking around at halftime, and it's amazing the crowd that's here tonight, that not only are all the stands filled, but all around the field there are people lying 2 and 3 deep along the fence. This has got to be like one of the largest crowds that ever been to a Medina game. And next week when we play Revere, I have a hunch you're going to see the same kind of thing there, where the new stadium should be filled up. Update the stats just a little bit. The one big thing that's happened for Wadsworth as far as things are concerned is the rush by Trachome. He now has 88 yards and 12 rushes. As far as Medina is concerned, Oldham has carried the ball 19 times, but he only has 63 yards. And as far as the passing is concerned, now Medina is 4 for 7.
Mark Simpson, a booming punt. Trachome's going to let it roll. And the Grizzlies will start at about the 13-yard line. And Trachome letting that ball roll, they lost a good 15, 20 yards.
I think he saw the green shirts coming down and didn't want to do anything, but he might have been wise to try to pick it up. It was a 56-yard kick by the time the roll and everything else was accomplished. So Wadsworth has taken over 1st and 10 on their own 14-yard line. And see what they do here. Do they go back to the run, which they showed in the opening drive, or do they start throwing the ball again?
They go to the pitch to Trachome. He has room around the left, cuts back in, and tackled at the 25 by David Schindelholz, a linebacker for the Bees.
It's an 11-yard pickup for Trachome and a 1st down, so he atoned for not picking up the ball on that play. That's 99 yards for Trachome. There's the pitch. Medina doesn't do that good a job of stringing it out. He makes a little cut to the inside here, and that's what allows him to pick up the 1st down. A little hard to see through all the white legs on the field.
4 minutes, 40 seconds left, third quarter. Hoover going to keep it and roll with it. He throws it downfield to Chris Brink. And Brink is finally tackled out of bounds by number 7, Grant Stayer. And a 41-yard pass play to Chris Brink. Once again, Mike Hoover executing for the Grizzlies.
And Sayer is listed at 6'1", 175. There's no way he's 6'1". He's about 5'10". So Chris Brink had maybe 4 inches and perhaps 30 or 40 pounds. And watch how he gains an extra 10 yards just dragging the defender down with him.
Joe Tricomi bounces off one defender, gets around the right end, bounces off another, down to about the 27, and nice hard run by Joe Tricomi.
What's amazing me, John, is Wadsworth is doing successfully whatever they want to do. 108 yards now for
Tricomi.
For Joe Tricomi, 108 yards, I was just told. I didn't know if that was 108 yards rushing or Brink with 108 yards passing. So Tricomi right now, 14 carries, 108 yards. Wadsworth second and 1.
Quick handoff to Tony Moeller.
I think he made the first down. It's going to be awfully close.
He got to the 25.
And they're motioning a first down. So that was a nice call. Again, mixing things up a little bit. They only needed a yard to hand off to the up back. It wasn't much of a hole, but Moeller just fought his way through and got the first down. So Wadsworth now has first and 10 just inside the 20-yard line. So we'll call it the 20. 3:14 to go. The clock is running. It's been a very fast third quarter, and the score is still 28-3 Wadsworth.
Two receivers to the left, I formation. Hoover quickly going back, over the top to Brink, dives just out of his reach.
That was another 6 points for Brink. The ball was overthrown by about a yard. Interesting call with the clock running and Wadsworth down there. They were going for the score. They weren't interested in trying to work the ball in. A little bit of pressure, not much on Hoover, just out of the reach of Chris Brink. Again, I'm impressed with the fact that Medina has not been able to put pressure on Brink. That's what they were trying to do. And you got to give the offensive line Formaz and Miracle,
Delnos, Davis.
Yeah, they're doing a heck of a job giving him time to throw.
Joe Tricomi, just Medina player, number 77, just gets one hand on him, knocks him down.
I think Tricomi was just in the process of cutting back to the inside and was probably a little off balance when that hand came out and snagged him down because he runs harder than that. So that's going to bring up 3rd and 9 for Wadsworth on the 24-yard line.
We also need to mention Evan Gosser, the junior, does a great job on the left side of the line, number 78.
I just wish we had like one more spotter just to watch the line so that we could give these kids the credit they deserve, because they sure do. Shotgun for Wadsworth.
And Medina read that play well, and that's Derek Angus, the big stud on the Medina defense.
You know, you say you're a big stud, and I was told by some of the coaches to watch for him tonight, but that's the first impressive play that I've seen him make.
And so it was impressive.
He's lining up different places. He lines up on the left, he lines up on the right, but you have to say that Wadsworth has pretty well contained him. One of the problems he might have is 6'1", 230. That's awfully small to be playing a down lineman. I think he would be a natural linebacker. And Wadsworth is going to go for it on a 4th and 15 during the shotgun.
Hoover is getting pressured, and pass was intended for Tricomi, who was open. Pass was well short of him, and Wadsworth turns it over on downs.
I think in that case that wasn't what Hoover wanted to do. He wanted to go much further downfield. But watch now the pressure. 45 comes in clean. If you look downfield, the receivers aren't ready to catch the ball. This was not the play that they had designed. So you got to give the credit to number 45 for Medina Bees.
Mike Goring.
For getting in there and busting up the play. But once again, the Wadsworth didn't score. We've now taken 10.5 minutes off the clock in the third quarter, and everything is still status quo. That means the same.
Quick handoff to Jeff Jowett, senior running back. This is not going to win Medina the game.
Oh, you know, one thing that we forgot with everything that's been going on, we forgot to tell you people about what happened to the Shelby Whippets last week. Remember, Shelby lost to Castelia Margaretta 36-20 their first game. Last week they played Lexington, and believe it or not, I could not get a score on that game. I couldn't find it anywhere. So I don't know what the Shelby Whippets did last night. Tonight they're home against Ashland. And hopefully, if they didn't win, they'll get on the winning track tonight. So let's all root for the Shelby Whippets.
You need to get the Shelby Athletic Department phone number, Larry, and keep up with that. Allen bouncing off a few defenders, finally gets to about the 35.
Well, I tried that, but by the time I got home from school and called, their school was closed down. So
just use the school phones. They won't care.
So that brings up a 3rd down and 5. Again, the Shelby Whippets are playing Ashland tonight, so that score should be in the paper because Ashland is relatively close to here. And hopefully we can tell you next week how the Whippets have done.
20 seconds left, 3rd quarter. Sprovka rolling left, looking for help, and Matt Delnos brings him down, and Sprovka loses a handle on the ball. It rolls out of bounds. 3 seconds left, 3rd quarter.
They ruled he was down before. Watch the play that Delnos makes. But first of all, there's good coverage downfield. That's why there's nowhere to throw. Brings it down, and there's Delnos, and he was down, definitely.
End of the 3rd period. Its score remains the same, 28-3. 12 minutes to go, and the Grizzlies will be 3-0.
Well, let me give you the 3rd quarter stats now. For Wadsworth, Tacomie, 16 rushes, 103 yards. Hoover, 9 for 23. That doesn't sound all that good, but 260 yards and 4 touchdowns. Copeland hasn't caught a pass since, I think, the 1st quarter, or early in 2nd quarter. 2 receptions, 67 yards, 2 TDs. Tacomie, 2 catches, 48 yards. The big receiver, Brink, tonight, 4 catches, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns. Wadsworth has 8 first downs, and they're penalized 1 time for 10 yards. As far as Medina is concerned right now, big ball carrier Olin, 19 carries, 63 yards. As far as the passing is concerned, they've thrown the ball more times tonight than they have all year, I think. They've attempted 10 passes, completed 7, but only 43 yards, and 2 were intercepted. And Medina has picked up 6 first downs, and it's been relatively penalty-free. They've only had 1 penalty for 5 yards.
Punting is Mark Simpson for the Bees. A low flopping kick. Wu just picks it up on a couple bounces. And he's tackled at the 35.
36-yard line.
Number 38.
I think there's a penalty flag down across the field. I didn't see anything. It was a 44-yard punt and about a 10-yard return. Now there's Wu just chasing after the ball. This time he picks it up. The referees are indicating an illegal block against Wadsworth on the run back, so they're going to get pushed a bit farther back than that. That's only Wadsworth's 2nd penalty tonight, I believe. They had a 10-yard holding penalty, and now there's 15-yard penalty for blocking below the waist on the run back. So that moves the ball back. So let's see where they're going to spot it. About the 23-yard line. I guess the 22, so Wadsworth takes over 1st and 10 on the 22. But the big numbers aren't 1st and 10 and not 22. The big number is 11:50, and that's how many minutes and seconds are left in this game.
Quick handoff to Tony Moeller. Takes it to the 35. 25, I'm sorry.
So he picked up 2. It's going to bring up a 2nd down and 8. And you might be seeing a lot of that the rest of the night. Just very safe stuff. They don't want to turn the ball over, and they're just willing to let the clock run down. Don't give up the big play on defense. Penalties. I think a Wadsworth lineman broke. Now, the Medina player was across the line of scrimmage, but they're ruling illegal motion on Wadsworth. Somebody on the right side of the line broke. So that's only Wadsworth's 3rd penalty. But
two of them in the last minute.
Yeah. Moves it back to about the 20-yard line. It's going to bring up 2nd down and 13, I believe. I guess they marked it on the 19-yard line, so it's going to be 2nd and 14. So the Wadsworth Grizzlies are going to regroup and see what they can do now.
Short drop back, past Osterland, completed.
Good pass, but it was very well defended. I think that's Osterland's 1st catch tonight, if I'm not mistaken. He picked up about 9 yards on the play. This is just a quick drop. Let's get about half of it. Osterland was actually well covered and tackled immediately after catching the ball. So that's going to bring up a 3rd down and 5 to go for Wadsworth on the 27-yard line.
Copeland and Vujis split for the Grizzlies. Hoover cuts into the middle of the field, finds plenty of running room. He's to the 35, the 40, the 45. Knocked out of bounds just shy of midfield. Great run by Mike Hoover.
And I want to give credit to Joe Tricome for throwing a really nice block downfield. Tricome was out here in the flat as a receiver. When he saw what was happening, he just took the Medina defensive back and pushed him back to the middle of the field. Now watch this. Hoover's going to get some pressure. But when he busts through the pressure right here, there's nobody else around. Now he heads to the outside. Now this is the point where Tricome sees he's coming and makes the block. If you could see it, it happened off the screen. You couldn't see it, but that allowed him to get the 1st and 10.
Tricome running on 1st down. Goes out, cuts back in, cross midfield to about the 47.
That was good line search by the Grizzlies. They just pushed the Medina line backwards and allowed Tricome to run in behind it for a gain of 7 yards. That's going to bring up 2nd down and 3. Clock's down now to 9:24 in the 4th quarter. And I don't think Wadsworth is in any hurry to get the plays off or in any hurry to stop the clock. You know, really, since that first drive of Medina's, in a little bit here in the second, they haven't done much of anything at all. They've been totally shut down by the Wadsworth defense.
Tricome bounces off the line, gets a couple extra hard yards.
I think they're going to mark it short of the 1st down. It should bring up about a 3rd and 1. Oh, that was not what I consider a good spot. I think it should have been a little closer than that. They actually moved the ball. Yeah, I think the ball was about a yard further downfield, but that's where the referee saw it. It's going to bring up a 3rd down and 2 for Wadsworth on the Medina 44-yard line.
Two receivers to the left now.
I think they're going to run for the 1st down. I don't think they throw here.
High formation. And
it's going to be offside Wadsworth, of course.
Yeah.
It looks like Chris Brink jumped before the ball was snapped.
But the job Chris Brink is doing.
You don't say much about it, except
No.
Good job, Chris. Good job. So that brings up a 3rd and 6. And this might change the Wadsworth strategy. They were obviously going to run the ball there, but they might now throw it. But I'll guarantee if they throw the ball, it's going to be a safe pass. And I think Hoover, if he sees he hasn't caught anything, will throw it in the ground rather than put it up for an interception.
Medina showing a blitz. The pass is to Brink right into his hands. Rumbles for a 1st down and a few more.
I think
Clock keeps running.
Their rule he's out of bounds, but I think that atones for the jumping offside.
Yeah, I would say that was a beautiful catch. He had to jump, reach up for it, and he's running away from the ball.
But notice it was a safe pass. It was thrown to the outside. It was thrown such that if Brink couldn't get the ball, nobody was going to get it. So the worst that could have happened there was an incompletion because Wadsworth does not want an interception at this point.
Pitch to Joe Tricome, and he can't get around the end because Mark Simpson was there to bring him down.
That was one of the nicer defensive plays that they made. There's a flag on the field, and I'm sure that's an offside or motion against Wadsworth. I was looking at the monitor, but out of the corner of the eye, I saw somebody break. I don't know who. And they're talking to the Medina captain.
False start.
False start, and they're saying it's the play. I just informed that Chris Brink has 5 catches for 155 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's a career. And somebody's warming up here on the sideline. That's number 5 for Wadsworth. That's Justin Blackburn, a sophomore. And he might be coming in at quarterback after this series of downs. So
Tony Moeller carries the ball.
they pretty much stopped him at the line of scrimmage, so that's going to make it, well, they give him a yard on the play, so it's going to be 3rd down and 12. The clock is running with 6 minutes and 45 seconds to go. And Fugis is in for Osterland. Of course, they pretty much alternate on every play. So it's going to be interesting to see what they call here, 3rd and 12. You'd think it's another pass play, but the last thing Wadsworth needs right now is an interception. So again, if it's a pass, I'll bet you it's a safe pass, and if Hoover doesn't see anything, he'll just put the ball on the ground.
Hoover looking for Fugis, finds him, pass in and out of his hands, right on the numbers, but incomplete, 4th down.
Fugis was being hit as he got the ball. That's another one of those, you're not going to call it interference, but it was pretty close. He's rolling right. He's got a straight line to Fugis, so there can't be an interception here. The ball goes down. And notice that that's very close to pass interference. He was being hit as he caught the ball. In fact, you saw him put his hand up. He was calling for pass interference, but the referee said no.
Tony Moeller. Boots it high and hard. And the Grizzlies are going to down it shy of the goal line inside the 5. What a great job by the Wadsworth special teamers.
That ball took a really funny bounce. It kind of like knuckleballed when it hit the ground and spun around rather than rolling back. Gave Wadsworth a chance to down it. So if you're Medina, I would say you've got some real serious grief right now. You're starting out 1st and 10 inside your 5-yard line. You're down by 25 points with 6 minutes and change to go. Not a position that you want to be in.
Chris Sprovka hands it off to Olam, who snuck through the line there for a few yards.
I'll tell you, Olam's been a workhorse tonight. We figured he would be coming in. I mean, he's got, I think it's twice as many carries as everybody else on the Medina team combined. In fact, Olam now has 69 yards, but he's carried the ball 20 times. Chris Brink, 5 catches, 155 yards and 2 TDs. That's awesome.
5.5 minutes left in the ball game. Olam gets it again. The clock continues to run.
It's going to be a 3rd down and 2. And from what I've seen here, I think Medina has pretty well said that's it, because they're not even trying to pull out any stops. Now, granted, they're deep in their own territory, but with this little time left on the clock, they can't get the ball downfield for 1 touchdown at the rate that they're going, let alone 4.
5 minutes left in the game. We've had no scoring here in the second half. And it's a quarterback sneak, and he gets through the line.
I'm not that sure that was a quarterback sneak or it was a quarterback bobble, and the quarterback realized that he had better take off with the ball because whatever play was bust. If we have it on replay, we'll see. But if that was a quarterback sneak, it was one of the stranger-looking sneaks that I've ever seen. But Medina hangs onto the ball. The clock keeps running, and Medina's got the ball now. 1st and 10 on their own 27.
Sprovka gives Olam. Tackled at the 30.
I was looking at the Wadsworth defensive backs that time. They're not playing particularly soft. In other words, they're not looking for the long pass downfield. They're still primarily playing the run. Now, they might be a step or two back further and a little bit further the outside than normal, but they're just saying, we're not looking for you to pass at all. We're just going to protect against the run. They're playing a pretty straight-up defense.
Sprovka's going to pass this time, and it's incomplete. Intended for Nate Milstead and almost intercepted.
Well, I think he had 1 chance in 5 in making that completion because there was 1 green jersey and 4 white ones. The ball was forced in there, and Sprovka was very lucky that it was not intercepted. That brings up a 3rd down and 8 yards for Medina. And see what they do here. In this situation, they almost have to pass. Let's watch the Wadsworth defenders. And they're playing a little bit looser than they were before, but not much.
Quarterback tries to get away, but can't. And who's there but Matt Delnos?
Very nice play by Delnos. In fact, there are a couple of Grizzlies back, and they're busting up the play. Scramble, scramble. You can see 71. There was Dietrich, but Delnos was one that made the tackle. And now it's a 4th down, 8 yards to go. And Medina ostensibly is going to punt. It looks like Wadsworth believes it because they've got their punt return team in and they've got people back to field the punt. Actually, their backers are playing up like they're looking for a run. So
Mark Simpson's punt caught by Vujis. He goes to the knee, and Wadsworth will start on the 39.
it was a 31-yard punt, and Vujis, of course, elected to make the fair catch. Didn't want to fumble there. And so Wadsworth, as you say, takes over on the 39-yard line. We got 3 minutes and 12 seconds left to play. And if Wadsworth, well, this game is over for all practical purposes, but if Wadsworth can run off maybe 2 first and 10, the game will be over, in fact. So let's see if we have in there.
Terry C. Grizzly Gridiron, Mondays at 9 p.m.
New quarterback in for Wadsworth is Jeff Hanna. In fact, there's more new people in there than that. Handoff to
Who is that, Larry?
Chris Hawkins, number 33, was the running back. He's a 6'3" sophomore, listed at 187. So you can see the cleaner, well, maybe you can't on your TV screen, but we can see cleaner jerseys coming in there. Wadsworth is substituting freely. I can't read the number on the up back, but the whole backfield is new and half the offensive line is new.
Nate Stone, number 25.
Hawkins again, and that was 2 impressive runs by the sophomore. He's picked up 10 yards and 2 carries. Most importantly, the clock is at 2:30 and winding down. That's going to bring a 3rd and about half a yard for Wadsworth. And once again, the Wadsworth are substituting freely. You see Matt Delnos coming out.
John Edge,
and now by looking at the clean white jerseys, I'd say there's an entire new team in there for Wadsworth.
John Edge, a junior tackle's in there. Valiante's in there at wide receiver. Dan Painter, the junior, in at wide receiver.
Chris Hawkins just ran the ball for the 1st down, and they're marking the ball on about the 46-yard line, 1st and 10 Wadsworth. Clock now at 1:49 and running, and in fact, this might be the final series of downs for Wadsworth because I don't see either side taking a timeout, nor do I see Wadsworth passing the ball.
Willie Orr in the game at tight end. Hawkins barrels through the line, takes it across the 30.
I'm impressed with this young man. Now, you got to remember, he doesn't have the first-team line in front of him. I don't know what substitutions Medina has made, but he knows what to do with the ball when he gets it. He's hitting the hole very quickly and driving forward with great power. That was a pickup of 7 yards, so that brings up 2nd and 3.
Brian Kaufman is in.
About 1:05 left to play.
Trying to get what names I can on the air here, Larry. Hawkins again carries the tackler with him.
There might be time for one more play, and that's it. The clock is at 50 seconds and winding down. And, of course, Wadsworth is in no real hurry to get the playoff. So these kids that are in there playing, they'd like to run another play or two. And so here they come, 38 seconds left.
Billy Adams split to the left. Mike Valiente is split to the right. Jeff Hanna pitches it to Hawkins.
Good hard running. He might have the 1st down.
35.
And they rule it is a 1st down, but there's only 20 seconds left to play, and that will probably be the last play of the game as the referees wind up the clock. And this one is going to end 28-3 Wadsworth. All the scoring in the 1st half. A very, very impressive night for Wadsworth. Don't forget, next week, Friday night, Revere at home. Here's the last play of the game.
Hanna hands it off. And that's the ball game, folks. The Wadsworth Grizzlies now move to 3-0 on the season, undefeated in non-league play. The Bees will go to 2-1. Larry mentioned next week we will kick off the Suburban League season against a very tough opponent, the Revere Minutemen.
Oh, that Suburban League is going to be tough all the way around. You fans, don't miss any of those Suburban League games if you can get a chance.
So a very impressive win by the Wadsworth Grizzlies tonight, bringing it all out and winning a great game, 28-3. There you see the Wadsworth fans. So thanks to our crew once again. It's the same group of guys we mention every game.
Stats, Chris Kali,
You see
John Gramuglia.
the final score there, 28-3. So for Larry Varner, the whole WCTV crew, we hope you join us for next week's ball game. Tune in for Grizzly Gridiron on Monday evening. We'll have all the highlights, Coach Dennison, a couple guest players. And we will see you Monday night on that program. We'll see you next Friday from Arkwright Stadium. Wadsworth versus Revere. 28-3, Grizzlies win. So long, everybody.